Hey, what's up, nerd fam? This is your boy Gershon. Want to welcome you to Enter the Nerd. Today, we're talking about Spider-Man Brand New Day, specifically the trailer that just came out a couple of days ago as of the recording of this video. Now, obviously, if you watch my videos, but if you haven't, Spider-Man is my favorite hero since a little kid, directly from the comics, because my uncles put me onto this, and my stepfather, he's always been that greatest rogue gallery for me, specifically because of how they affect him, all these types of things that I love about him. As far as how the film, specifically in the MCU, has portrayed him, I have admittedly not been a huge fan. Why is that? Because he seems to be Spider-Man in name. I love Tom Holland, and I think that he was a great casting choice, but he didn't write the movies. And they were more interested in making him a cog in the wheel of the MCU, aka Iron Boy, versus really fleshing out Spider-Man on their own. Now, it looks like they're trying to do this a bit more in this film, because if you look at a lot of the trailer, you see more of the Rogues Gallery, Scorpion, Tarantula. It's rumored that perhaps Tombstone might be in this, which if that's true, that's cool. And I've always said they need to really bring more of his villains, because he has so many that are cool. And they do a lot of nostalgic imagery in this by way of showing him holding the pedestrian like an Amazing Fantasy number 15. Even the Tarantula villain that I mentioned, there's like a scene where he's fighting him, which is directly off a panel in a comic. Now, my nerd self loves things like that. Even the comic accurate battle van that Punisher has. Those are all things that I go, oh, that's nice, nice touch, which means the director is paying attention to particular things. However, how will this story develop Spider-Man further? And I would hope that it does. Now, obviously, it's coming off the heels of Far From Home, which obviously he had to have everyone forget that he's Spider-Man. You see him in the trailer, and he's, watching MJ with her new boyfriend, and other friends move on without him, and he has to suffer through that. You also see them hinting at the whole Man-Spider / The Other. And what I mean by that is The Other is one storyline that has to do with like spider totems, and Man-Spider, made popular to the general population by the 90s animated series, which made it more of a neogenic storyline versus what they did in the comic, which was more connected to the Savage Land and X-Men. I obviously think they're going to go more with the neogenic thing, because that's why they have Bruce Banner there, and they probably don't want to go into any X-Men stuff. However, it's rumored that Sadie Sink is supposed to be in this show, and in this movie, and she's supposed to be Jean Grey, and apparently in some of the quote-unquote spoilers, she's involved with this, and then that would be the X-Men connection. So I think they're going to meld a couple of things, which is what the MCU does. They do a lot of amalgamations, and no, I'm not usually happy about all that stuff, because usually by combining a couple of things, they take away full storylines. That's something that I'm worried about here. Now, you've seen some things. The person who directed this is also the same person who made Shang-Chi, which is why when I saw the hand, I'm like, okay, so there's definitely going to be some action set pieces that are going to probably look a lot like that, things that are focusing on his physical abilities, and that could be cool visually. But I wonder, beyond the nostalgia, beyond some of that stuff, and also the connections that they're clearly making to Daredevil Born Again, because they have the Councilwoman, they show up in there, because Punisher is there, who's also going to be this more family friendly, so I guess he's going to be a bit sanitized, we're assuming, based on how these movies have been, unless they do decide to turn it up a notch and have them off some people, or at least talk about that. Then I don't know how this is going to work with him in it, because we've seen what he's been doing in the show, and it's not family friendly. So I'm wondering how he really fits into here. And because the Hand is here, does that mean Matt Murdock will also show up? Because that makes perfect sense. Because in the comics, Spider-Man doesn't ever fight the Hand by himself. It has either always been in tandem with the Avengers or next to Daredevil as well. That's usually what happens. But in this, they seem to be doing something different, which seems to be par for the course for the MCU. Do I think this movie is going to be entertaining? Of course. I think all the Spider-Man movies have been the most entertaining out of all the stuff that they've done in the MCU. It's true. And as far as doing justice to the character, it's something completely different. I do like that they're shedding a bit more, and this person seems to understand that part, but we gotta see, because obviously it's possible they introduce a Green Goblin type of character or something. Like, I want to know exactly how much of the Rogue Gallery is going to be here, and how much of this ties to the overall MCU picture, because that's the thing. Spider-Man always ties into the overall MCU versus being isolated to his own thing, because once again, this is coming off of a multiversal event, and this movie is technically going into a multiversal event in Avengers Doomsday. So obviously the end of this film, as far as the post-credit scene, is probably going to have to do with the X-Men or whatever, a mix of talking about Doctor Doom. Someone's going to show up, and that could be interesting. But listen, I'm a person who I've been very critical of the MCU, and I still am. Spider-Man obviously is something that I always want to do well, even though they have done crazy stuff with him. Anyway, even if I do find the films entertaining, the trailer is polarizing. A lot of people have a lot of things to say. I obviously have my criticism as I've had here, but I'm hopeful that it at least does some justice to his Rogue Gallery and he gets some real growth, and the whole Man-Spider thing isn't just some gimmick, that he really does change for the better after this experience, because that is normally what happens after every Spider-Man villain or experience or run. There is something added on to him that wasn't there before the story. So yeah, that's really what I got to think about it. What did you think about the trailer? What do you expect? What are some things that you hope happen? Let's talk about it. Enter the Nerd.